Hello again. Welcome to the next episode of Outcomes. And I think I told you this already, but we're going to evolve for season 3. So you listen to the recap, you got an idea that, I myself have evolved in terms of the role that I have and the way that I think about partnerships and SaaS. So this is going to be a season about go-to-market leaders and really where they gain an advantage. So who better to have on my first episode of season 3, the one and only Jared Fuller, the master, the ninja, the chief in charge, guy who knows it all about Nearbound. And I think in many ways, the expert about the things that I care most about for this episode and for this season, certainly. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm happy to be here again. So I love the show, Barrett, and thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Look, we had a different conversation last time we spoke. It was certainly about Nearbound. It was about partnerships. But again, in seasons past, I focused on partnerships as this evolution in go-to-market. And now we know, if you listen to the show, if you listen to the internet, if you're paying attention to go-to-market trends, partnerships is a core part of how folks are growing their businesses right now. And it's more important than ever. And you recognize that and wrote a book about it. So I want to hear more about that. I want to hear more about publication, about sort of the inspiration behind it, and give us some context for those that haven't read it yet, what they're getting themselves into if they check it out.
Yeah. So Nearbound and the Rise of the Who Economy is out now. We hit #1 bestseller status in almost every category on Amazon. Only #2 in all of business, second only to Elon Musk's biography. So I felt that was a rare air there, which was pretty cool. Like, I was actually shocked at how much came out there. But no, here's the thing. How to demystify partnerships as a go-to-market strategy and using Nearbound. Why Nearbound? Nearbound in a word is surround, right? And it's all about understanding the degree to which you are surrounding the buyers that you're looking for with the voices they already trust. And that expands beyond the walls of partnerships, right? Because what is partnerships in 2024, 2025 into 2030? It's actually very amorphous. For example, it could be a customer is some of your best partners. Let me tell you this, at Reveal, Barrett, you know who some of my best partners are? They're customers. And I don't have rev share with them. I don't have partner agreements with them. It's kind of different. And, that's like Box, Qualtrics, HubSpot. Like, yeah, I have an integration with HubSpot, but actually as a customer, that's our best partner. And that expands to influencers, advisors, and these changing partner types. And you want to market with them. You want to sell with them. And you want to serve with them. So Nearbound's all about how do you work in market with the voices that your customers and then the buyers that you want already trust. And that's why it was so important. I think why folks are leaning into it.
All right. So you did a bunch of research, obviously, for this, observed the market. You yourself had experience in the space. What are some of the trends that you saw and are seeing now in terms of how to be more integrated into this holistic surround sound you're describing? Because I think folks understand it. Like when you describe it to me as a listener, I go, yeah, cool. That makes sense to me. But how should I think about that holistically in terms of my own go-to-market? Maybe I've got some good marketing. I've got some good sales. I've got some good partnership motion. So I have the 3 pillars, if you will. How do I create the wrap around the surround sound, the Nearbound experience within my business app?
Yeah. So I think it's different for each department. And I think the most popular places to start is, marketing and sales, right? And the first rule of sales is no one cares about your product. They care about themselves. But the second rule of sales is target accounts, sell to people. So the question just becomes who? I'm not saying change everything about your marketing strategy. You already have the cadences and rituals of your marketing calendar. Annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. Same thing with the sales team. So all that you're doing is going, hey, are we setting aside lists or segments of accounts that we want? If the answer is yes, the next question becomes, well, what accounts? What partners? Right? Who surrounds those accounts? And that's step number 1. It's not magic, it's math, right? I'm not asking you to pull rabbits out of hats. What it's all about is just identifying those. So once you've identified and you're able to move lists and segments based on partner presence, right? Or influence. For example, you see a cohort of accounts that have purchased some from one of your technology, integration partners or a service partner in the past quarter. It's 2024. They're buying. There must be 2 things that are true if people are buying: a business challenge and a business initiative, right? And people don't advertise that on their LinkedIn and they don't advertise that on their website.
No, they don't. Be cool if
you're
they
never
did,
going to get that from, research from like an SDR. You won't. Yeah. You're only going to get that by marketing with partners and selling with partners. So that's step 1. What accounts, what partners, and then market with them and then sell with them. And I can talk about some of those tactical tips, but that's really the clarion call.
So you're talking about obviously being more integrated to the mutual value and that the intersection there. So what about the partnerships? You're talking about like observation-based marketing, observation-based go-to-market. What's the best way to do that? I always say, like, go call your customers, go engage with your customers, be closer to the problem or the solution. Do you agree, or you have a different idea?
Well, there's two ways to do that. I mean, some companies might go, well, how do I know, what partners to target? Like that's a partner acquisition problem, which I think that should still live in a partner team or department. I don't necessarily believe that that's the go-to-market, proper's best place for that. Just here, if you're stuck there, I won't talk about that a lot. Here's the tip or the trick, and you said it. Call your best customers.
Yeah.
Who do they trust? Who are they doing business with? And that's a list. It's not a hypothetical ICP or IPP, ideal partner profile, like exercise. It's a list. It's a name. And then go talk to them and be like, hey, do you know we have these customers, et cetera, et cetera. And then integrate them into the marketing campaigns and be like, hey, we're doing our quarterly marketing planning. Here's the stuff that we're working on. Would love to pull you in on this, right? Make your partners famous. HubSpot obviously was, fantastic at that, as good as anyone. But yeah, absolutely. Talk and ask who, and then listen. I think the other thing, Barrett, for marketers that are listening to this, and even sales leaders is, Chris Walker talks a lot about self-reported attribution. And that's one of my favorite things. So like on your forums, all of your conversion points, I tweak what he does, and you might like this. I say, who sent you our way? Right? So the book is Nearbound and the Rise of the Who Economy. It's all about who surrounds your buyer. Ask. Here's what you're going to find. It's going to blow your mind. Well over 50% of people, whenever you put that, I haven't seen that number be below 50%. They name a specific person or a specific company. That solves two things. It solves an attribution problem, right? Like, oh, shoot, that's who's actually influencing our buyers. And it also solves wait a second, who the heck is that? Well, that's a partner conversation.
There's something really interesting about this idea of transparent and open dialogue. So I talk about it as partner market fit. And for those of you listening to the show, you've heard me say that a bunch. I define that as like the businesses, it's Nearbound, the businesses that are in close proximity to your customers that are already having the conversation before you get there. We're talking about offense, right? We're talking about the opportunity to go and potentially engage from a net new and marketing awareness perspective. What about defense? What about the ones that are working with your existing customers that are an integration opportunity or otherwise? Do you think Nearbound surrounds your entire customer lifecycle, then your entire journey? It feels obvious to me, but I'm curious your thoughts.
Man, like here's one of the easiest plays, and it can be shocking. So I'll give you an example when I was like at Drift in Marketo. Yeah. So like we sold through to over 1,000 Marketo accounts from that partnership. And these are good accounts, right? So like these weren't just SMB. We're talking dozens of millions of dollars of revenue from that partnership. But then on the backside, when we were trying to drive net retention, right? So expansion for Marketo to build a bigger partnership with Adobe, right? So this is Drift and Marketo. Come to find out, when we actually looked at the activations of the integration, it was like 30% were active. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. That's a problem. Like everyone bought for this value proposition. Yeah. So then that became a core KPI where we started to look at integrations available versus integrations activated. And then that went into the CSM and AM manager dashboard to look at that delta. Like, again, all of GTM is about, they don't care about you or they care about themselves, but then what accounts, what activities, what plays, what next steps. So then the CSM then had a prioritized list of accounts. What are you going to do? You're like, well, I'm going to respond. Great. If you have reactive CS, you have a business that's going out of business. To have proactive CS, what you need to do is you need to be able to prioritize where the lowest hanging fruit, highest impact, right? That 2x2 matrix, right? Highest impact, lowest, kind of energy. In activating integrations that already integrate with your product and they are already customers, come on. Why aren't you doing that? And it's crazy for even a partner person that was like, oh yeah, of course we do that. And then looking at the data and being like, this is an issue. And we doubled that activation rate in like 6 to 7 months.
See, I love that.
Protected
I love the
dozens of millions of dollars in revenue.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I love the data story because it impacts specifically dollars and top and bottom line revenue. You're also talking about the difference between partnerships and go-to-market overall as being offense specific versus, to your point, proactive existing customer, mechanizing, right? The idea that actually, and I've seen this a lot lately. I've talked to some go-to-market leaders that talk about specifically partnerships as an offense, and then they talk about integrations as in some ways a defense and or like a solution to an existing problem. And yet they're the same thing, which is they both deliver more value to your customer and they potentially extract more value for you. How do you think about then bringing those two mechanisms in your strategy together? So obviously partnerships on the front end, awareness, Nearbound, the idea of building brand and helping you to integrate into the market more effectively. But then obviously the other end of the spectrum, which is how do we retain and expand our customers and solve more deeply the problems that our platform, maybe we unintentionally bring up, but there are solutions to in the market that we've actually created.
Well, there's a couple of things there. I mean, so the best way to look at this that I've seen that makes it simple is I'm a big fan of measuring partner attach across the customer lifecycle. So across marketing, sales, and success. Meaning, and what is partner attach? Let me demystify it. So in the target process, you need to have, let's say, a goal. Like, hey, we want 50% of our business, 75% of our business, 25. I don't care what the number is. What is the outcome? Hey, to the show, are you looking for? What is the outcome? Like, hey, we need to go from 15% of our business being partner driven to 25 or 30. Okay, great. Now you have the law, the rule. And that means what? If it's the goal is 30%, that if you have 1,000 accounts that you're targeting this quarter, what does that mean? That means that 300 of them must have partners attached for your marketing, right? Like, hey, we're working with partners. From a seller's perspective, that means that if I own 100 accounts in my name, that means that 30 of them must have partners attached. And what does that also mean cascading down, to CS? Same thing, right? Your book is then dictated by that. And that already exists. So I'm not asking you to do something you're not already doing. You know that based on, let's say, other heuristics like outbound versus inbound, right? Like, hey, as a seller, 50% is outbound, 50% is inbound, or whatever that number is.
Sure, yeah.
And that's not totaling 100% of your quota attainment right now, right? That's the problem.
Right.
50 and 50% of less than 100 is, not good.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing, though, that where people screw up, Barrett, is the activities, right? So you have the assignment, and then, okay, we did the campaigns. Did I have 30% partner attached on the actual campaigns that were executed?
Yep.
Of the sales activities, were 30% of those sales activities nearbound sales plays? And same thing on the CS activities, right? Like I said, it's math, not magic. It's really that simple. And what you're going to find is as follows. It's a cohort analysis. Did the partner attach, a cohort from marketing, from sales or success versus the non-partner attach? Which one performed better?
It's an
really
activation
that
rate.
simple.
Yeah, activation rate. Absolutely. It's the penetration of that value for the market. And then to your point, looking at the ability for a partner to drive better marketing, you always hear folks talk about LTV to CAC, and they're very specific around sales metrics. But I do think, to your point, attach rate and then activation of that attach becomes your integrated value in terms of what is that percentage that we can measure against, benchmark against, and then drive the company's behavior. It's such a good call out.
It's simple, actually. Partner attach versus non-partner attach cohort. It's black and white. And you might go, oh yeah, are we going to argue about attribution of those things? No. The point is if the outcome is there, if the pipeline that came from partner attach converts at 2x more into close one revenue, do you want to argue with me? If so, get out of SaaS. You're going to argue with results. Like if the pipeline from a sales perspective, it's like, hey, every time we have a partner attached, it's a 47% faster time to close, right? It's a 43% higher win rate. And you're like, well, I don't know if the partners did anything. It's like, oh my
direct
gosh.
correlation. All right, but let's talk about that, right? Because there are a ton of leaders that are going to hear this and say, yeah, I get it. Sounds good. But how do I go from partners are a thing that happens, and it's probably a sales offense, right? We always see that, especially right now in SaaS. I want to have partners because they acquire more customers for me. The CAC is better, whatever. How do we integrate this across the entire customer journey that you're describing? Where do you start? How do you think about developing it from a business case perspective all the way through to implementation? I imagine you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the book, I talk about nearbound marketing, nearbound sales, nearbound success. And then I think where I bring it all together is I start talking about nearbound ops a little bit, but I think the most important thing is I call it the rhythm of the business, ROB. And I'm going to tell you something that I think I've said this thousands of times probably. Because I like to say the same 10 things 1,000 times versus 1,000 things 10 times, is that the most misunderstood word in startups is culture. And I think strategy, right? But culture is what you promote and it's what you tolerate. And then it's the cadences and rituals to enforce them. I believe in that so much. What is that? What do I mean? Well, there is already cadences and rituals for marketing, sales, and success. Annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. The goal of Nearbound is to integrate partnerships into those cadences and rituals. And let me give you a perfect example because we can do this for marketing, success, or sales. Let's just talk sales management. What happens every quarter? QBRs. What happens every month? Monthly sales all hands. What happens every week? Pipeline meeting, forecast meeting, and sales one-on-one. Okay, great. is there a partner layer? Is there an overlay into those meetings? Meaning when you're doing pipe gen and pipe development as a sales manager, right? This is where it gets different. Are you looking at your sales rep and going, okay, here was the activities from last week. We know we need 30% of your book with partners. Was there or was there not 30% partner activities? And it's maddening to think like, if that's happening and the outcomes aren't there, then guess what you have? You have a solvable problem. If it's not happening and the outcomes aren't there, you don't have a solvable problem because you're not even doing the thing.
Yeah. It's behavioral change. And to your point, it's a fundamental and straightforward core metric. And we all talk about in sales KPIs, right? In marketing, I mean, frankly, in all three of the disciplines you're describing, we've got our metrics. Is it a customer engagement score or happiness score for CS? Is it sales metrics in terms of number of outbound phone calls and number of inbound leads engaged and all the things we're used to saying? You're talking about just overlaying a partner metric value in terms of attach rates and engagement to that model.
And the forecast call is just as simple, right? For example, it's like, hey, here's the 10 deals you have in flight, and it's like, hey, this account's pushing, right? Like, hey, this one's moving to next quarter, and you see like, hey, there's you have one partner attached deal out of 10, and you're like, well, look, there's these 3 partners available. Have you engaged them? And if the answer is like, yeah, we tried, there isn't anything there. I love hearing that. Why? Well, what's going on? That's a solvable problem. But you know what's not a solvable problem is no. Like, yeah. So you're not even trying. You can't learn if you're not putting in the reps and sets. And I think that's the commitment is like across the business, 30%, 50%, whatever that number is. That means in the forecast meeting, if you're committing or in your best case has 10 deals, 3 out of those 10, 5 out of those 10 better have partner presence. Yep. The results will speak the truth.
And clear line of sight. I mean, it feels like you need to have top-down executive buy-in. You need to have the business aligned to the idea, which all comes back to your core concept here, which is the data speaks for itself, which I think, we all talk about data, but data is transparency. Data is scary sometimes. To your point, if I'm losing 30 or 40% of my deals to a push or to a closed lost, and I'm not engaging a partner that theoretically would cover that spread for me, don't worry, boss. I won, the other, call it 70 or 60% of them, right? But you could win 100% theoretically if you actually cover the spread and you brought partners in. What am I missing? Like, is it just coming in with the data first and doing a data first approach and being transparent? Or do you think it's change management top down in terms of business alignment that partners are a core part of the go-to-market? Or both, maybe?
It's absolutely both. It has to be both. But here's the thing that I was trying to illustrate with the cadences and rituals and the overlay, the rhythm of business comment, is that I think most people fail at the front line. And what I mean is the front line, this is the front line of management. Right. 100%. It's that sales manager, that CS manager, that marketing, campaign manager, that mid-level person that's responsible for what? Not the quarterly QBR where you're like, all right, we're going to tell the partner story. I got a rep that like closed the biggest deal in company history. I got this. The CRO is going to get up on stage and say, hey, we believe in partners. Y'all have heard, you've seen this. You've done it. Right. You've got those like CEO, even maybe at sales kickoff or company kickoff said something about partner. You're like, yes, I got the alignment. And then guess what's not happening in the rhythm of the business, the cadences and the rituals, what you promote and what you tolerate. That call out in that forecast call, the sales manager needs her or his butt called out for being like, hey, your cohort of reps, your partner attach rate's 10% and you're behind.
Just the same as your pipe gen is low. Yep, your pipe gen's low, your team activity is low, all the stuff we're used to already highlighting. Your retention rate is low right now in your CS team, your campaign engagement's low, all of the core metrics, we just overlay the partner piece.
Right. And then you're doing that at the manager level. So like manager development and getting managers to be your allies and investing in that to where they're one-on-one conversations. Because as a partner leader, or if you're, a revenue leader and you're trying to orchestrate your partner team, right? Either way, there's no way that any person in partnerships could possibly cover the totality of your pipe generation, right? And your pipeline forecasting. That's what sales management is for. And I can take that same analogy to marketing, right? All of your pipe gen and brand awareness. And I can take the same thing to your install base. That's not the job of a person. That's the job of each person in those teams.
I love it. Jared, this has been, as always, the most informative and engaging conversation I get to have in my day. Thank you for the time, my friend. Look, I want to give you a chance to stand in a soapbox. Where do they find the book? How do they connect with you? You got a lot to say. I want to make sure the audience can check it out.
Yeah. So nearbound.com. If you're not subscribed to the Nearbound Daily, we send the world's largest email on partnerships every single day, 7 days a week.
It's awesome. I'm going to vouch for that one. I get it. I love it. I enjoy it. Keep it up.
Amazing. And then Nearbound, the book is on Amazon. It's on Audible. I actually read the audiobook. So I actually put in the work to do that.
That's cool.
So check it out on Amazon. And then on LinkedIn, just Jared Fuller.
Brilliant. I love it. Thanks for being a guest, an advocate, a champion of the things that we all care about. And folks, thanks for checking out that episode of Outcomes. I'm your host, Barrett King. Like, subscribe, comment, and give me your feedback. I keep telling you to do it. You're doing a great job and we appreciate it. Let me know how you want to see us evolve over the coming weeks and months as season 3 progresses. But Jared, you are the first of this season and I'm grateful for it. Thanks again, my friend.